Today's deck profile is for the meta threat Rescue Ace. After a poor showing on release, its most recent support has thrust this deck into the modern Yu-Gi-Oh game. This profile will be covering every build of Rescue Ace, although it will be leading first with the Iblee lock version of Rescue Ace. After explaining basic combos and showing off the deck list, we'll get into other builds such as a Go Second Staple list, Cyberse and Terahertz list, Superheavy Samurai Rescue Ace, and Infernoble Knight Rescue Ace, as well as a few others. I will also go into how to use the future Diabellstarr engine at the end of this video. If you want more resources on how to play the deck, I recommend checking out the links in the description below. It is everything from a combo sheet, to various topping profiles, to the Rescue Ace Discord, who have been very helpful in aiding me with this profile. We can break down the general game plan of Rescue Ace into 3 main points. First, we should look to combo out with Hydrant, Airlifter, and Emergency. This means using Rescue Ace Turbulence to set 4, plus whatever extra deck shenanigans our build is going to be running. Second, we have amazing tools to hand trap the opponent, not only with generic staples, but also with Rescue Ace Impulse, which tributes itself from hand as a quick effect to fetch us any Rescue Ace from the deck. This can be as simple as Rescue Ace Fire Attacker for some quick draws, or it could be something like Rescue Ace Fire Engine into Airlifter or Hydrant for some hand fixing and board setup. If you want a more aggressive build, consider replacing some staples with your choice of board breakers like Kurikara, Dark Whirler, and Harpy's Feather Duster. Lastly, the deck ensures wins through its absurd grind game. Fire Attacker and Decode Talker Heatsoul put a lot of cards into your hand. Rescue Ace HQ is a complete reset and draw after your first Turbulence effect. Not to mention, all of the other Rescue Ace effects are really good at grinding. It's also important to remember that Rescue Ace's strategy inherently loses the blowout cards, such as Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, and especially evenly matched. As such, each build seeks to counteract this in its own unique way. Iblee builds give an opponent a card to lock them out from these effects. Cyberse establishes a spell or trap negate through Cyberse Dayswarm. And rank 4 builds establish an Omni negate through searching Therion King Regulus. So let's get into combos with the basic Turbulence setup. Emergency in any Rescue Ace monster will let us summon Rescue Ace Hydrant from the deck. Hydrant will then let us search Rescue Ace Turbulence. Turbulence can banish out 2 cards from the graveyard for a special summon, particularly the Emergency and whatever monster we tributed. Then Turbulence gets a set 4 from deck. There are options for what we can set, but typically it'll be Contain, Extinguish, and Rescue as their disruptions, as well as Alert for combo extensions. Speaking of which, we can levy this previous setup into more disruptions. By using Alert, we can search Rescue Ace Preventer. We can then summon Preventer by banishing the Alert. We can then link off Turbulence and Preventer into IP Masquerena. Typically this helps somewhat for playing around evenly, since we can condense our board with Appaloosa if they try to go to battle phase. But it also gives us access to Nightmare Unicorn for flexible removal. You don't have to condense the board if you think Preventer plus Turbulence would be more helpful. With just the Rescue Ace Hydrant in hand, our combos are a bit more limited. The main combo you're likely to do here is just to make Decode Talker Heatsoul. Normal summon Hydrant, use Hydrant's effect to search Preventer, link Hydrant off into Salamangreat Illumirage. Banish Hydrant to summon Preventer, link Preventer plus Illumirage into Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Use Preventer's when sent to graveyard effect to revive Hydrant from the Banish zone. Summon Hydrant in Sunlight Wolf zone to add Preventer back to hand. Link off Hydrant into Link Karibo. Link Sunlight Wolf and Link Karibo into Heatsoul. Then you have an extra draw to try to find a hand trap or some way to unbrick. Decode Talker Heatsoul is a very important option because he's just so easy to make. You can make it off Emergency in any Rescue Ace monster or just an Airlifter. Heatsoul plays very well into the grind game aspect of the deck and is benefited by just how many hand traps and generic disruptions this deck runs. Here's just the Airlifter line for Heatsoul. Airlifter searches Emergency, use Emergency to summon Hydrant tributing Airlifter, use Hydrant to search Turbulence, Turbulence banish from grave to summon himself, have Turbulence set the 4 main cards, Contain, Extinguish, Rescue, and Alert, activate Alert using Hydrant and search Preventer, summon Preventer vanishing Alert, link Preventer and Turbulence to make Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, special Airlifter using Preventer's when sent to graveyard effect, link Hydrant into Link Karibo, link Karibo and Sunlight Wolf into Decode Talker Heatsoul. That is a lot of names, but it's very important to understand combos, especially in a deck as combo dependent as Rescue Ace. So using Turbulence as a base to go into Preventer, we can realistically do an absurd amount of combos. Building off this, we can even summon Iblee from the deck off of just 1 card. Airlifter search Emergency, use Emergency to summon Hydrant after tributing Airlifter, use Hydrant to search Turbulence, Turbulence banishing from grave to summon himself, have Turbulence set the 4 main cards, Contain, Extinguish, Rescue, and Alert, activate Alert using Hydrant and search Preventer, summon Preventer banishing Alert. Now, here's the difference in the combo. Link summon into Puzzlemo, the drop and deleter, and then use Preventer to summon back Airlifter to the zone Puzzlemo points to. Puzzlemo is going to let us change Airlifter's level to 2. Overlay Puzzlemo and Airlifter into Gigantic Sprite. Use Gigantic Sprite to summon Nightmare Conductor Iblee from the deck. Link Iblee and Gigantic Sprite into Beat Cop from the Underworld. Activate Iblee's effect when used as a link material to send it to the opponent's field. Lastly, use Beat Cop's effect to put a token on Iblee. This will protect it from destruction once. So, here we not only have a special summon lock that can't be outed by a singular destruction, but it also prevents Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched by putting a card on an opponent's field and blocking the activation requirements. This really is why I favor this build. It does have some issues that I'll get into later as we discuss the various builds, but do note that it is extremely powerful, although a bit matchup dependent. The last major combo is how to make Mudragon of the Swamp in order to give targeting protection to Turbulence. This is important because some players will wait out your plays to go for Turbulence. Mudragon forces this out, specifically Infinite Impermanence. The easiest way to this combo is through Airlifter and Preventer. Summon Airlifter, then search Emergency. Use Emergency to summon Hydrant after tributing Airlifter. Use Hydrant to search Turbulence. This time we're going to lead with Preventer. Summon Preventer, banishing Airlifter. Link summon Proxy F Magician using Hydrant and Preventer. Use Preventer's effect Engrave to summon back Airlifter. Use Proxy F Magician's effect to fusion summon into Mudragon using both it and Airlifter. Activate Mudragon's effect, changing himself to Fire type. Now you can summon Rescue Ace Turbulence from hand without fear of being Infinite Impermanence. This combo can also be done with Preventer and Hydrant, as well as with Airlifter and Emergency. You have a ton of options with this one. Just understand it takes a good player to figure out when to play it safe with Mudragon versus when to extend with the Iblee lock. My deck list is a bit of a middle ground as far as Rescue Ace builds go. I'm running the standard core, which you can see here. 3 of every starter, 2 of each of the combo extenders, 1 of each of our hand trap extenders, as well as our search targets. It's the extra deck where most of the spice comes from. I'm running the Iblee lock package, the Heatsoul package, and the Mudragon package. TBH though, the Heatsoul package is basically generic to most Rescue Ace builds. My main deck is also filled up with 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Infinite Impermanence, along with Rescue Ace Impulse. This brings us up to 9 hand traps. Good odds to draw of Heatsoul, or just in general, especially after setting 4 cards from the deck, doing our combos. I'm also running 3 Book of Eclipse and 3 Book of Moon. Board breaking is tough, and these cards are excellent in this format, and in general to be honest. This build has amazing power, great combos, and fantastic flexibility, as we can see from the before mentioned combos. But this build's weaknesses should be noted. First up is consistency. It has only 10 guaranteed starters, which get bumped up to about 15, with some cards working conditionally. I haven't had that much of a problem with it, but I do feel you kind of need to run Pot of Prosperity, which can be a bit expensive. Second, this build can still struggle with blowouts. If you play too timidly, you will be vulnerable. Use your judgment and create boards to deal with an opponent's likely options. Make Iblee lock when you can, make IP Masquerade to confuse boards, and use Reinforce to try not to neg as hard on value. It will be rough, but you do have the tools to fix it. I'm not going to go super in-depth on side deck options, but I recommend putting in at least Droll and Lockbird, as well as Nibiru. If you're going first, you can side out 2 copies of Impulse, and even potentially Fire Engine. Mostly though, you'll be changing out disruptions and hand traps that don't work in a specific matchup, like Book of Eclipse or Infinite Impermanence. I recommend following the current popular trends of the format for side decking. So, let's start our look at other successful builds. This one here by Noah Green, which made top 8 at the Stone Mountain WCQ Regionals, is very interesting. It does make use of the Terahertz package in the extra deck, but what I want to focus on with this list is the streamlined main deck and the optimal choice of staples. This list is running 3 Kashtira Fenrir, 3 Book of Moon, 2 Book of Eclipse, 3 Ash Blossom, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. That's a total of 14 Go Second cards in the main deck. Similar to mine, relying on Pot of Prosperity and our default starters to get the combo done. Also note that Reinforce is cut to make room for more gas. This style of list has been the overwhelmingly most successful way to play the deck if we're going by tournament results. Now let's explain the core combo that is unique to the Terahertz build. Let's start out with the basic setup. Use Airlifter to search Emergency. Use Emergency to summon Hydrant tributing Airlifter. Use Hydrant to search Turbulence. Turbulence banished from grave to summon himself. Have Turbulence set the 4 main cards: Contain, Extinguish, Rescue, and Alert. Activate Alert using Hydrant and search Preventer. Link Hydrant off into Link Karibo. Summon Preventer banishing Hydrant. Now this is where it gets different. Link Turbulence and Preventer into Binary Sorceress. Use Preventers when sent the Graveyard effect to summon back Hydrant from the Banish Zone. Then link Binary Sorceress and Link Karibo into G-Golem Crystal Heart. We can then use G-Golem's effect to revive Binary Sorceress from the graveyard. Then we can use Link Kuribo's Graveyard effect to tribute Hydrant to special summon itself. Then with these 3 Cyberse monsters, we can go into Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, Neo Tempest Terahertz. It's not just a long name, the card is crazy. Terahertz puts a Cyberse monster into the graveyard, specifically Cyberse Dazed Worm, which in Grave is a much needed spell or trap negate for the deck. Plus we can also send Meteorologic Aggravator for a negate next turn. It's a very powerful 1-2 punch that really does just knock away opponents. While it's not as outright powerful as the Iblee lock, it's much less matchup dependent, and in a lot of players' eyes, better. The G-Golem package can also be leveraged into a weak Appaloosa from just a single Hydrant. It also works to get us to Decode Talk or Heatsoul without Illumirage. You can check out the Link combo guide if you need more examples and use cases. The next topping list makes use of a similar combo to the Puzzle Emo Iblee lock, but instead to make Spriggan Merrymaker and then Gigantic Champion Sargus to search Therion King Regulus from the deck. This deck list was by Ryan Arthur Levine at a Richmond WCQ Regional. The benefit of this build and combo line is that it also opens up any generic rank 4 options. Abyss Dweller and Bakuska are the 2 most popular choices due to the current metagame, although Battling Boxer King Dempsey is an option as well, as it is a solid search. This combo is a 2-card combo, using Airlifter plus another Rescue Ace card in hand. Here's an example. Normal Airlifter search Emergency. Use Emergency to summon Hydrant tributing the other Rescue Ace in hand. Use Hydrant to search Turbulence. Turbulence banishing a grave to summon himself. Have Turbulence set the 4 main cards, Contain, Extinguish, Rescue, and Alert. Activate Alert using Hydrant, and then search Preventer. Summon Preventer banishing Alert. Link Turbulence and Preventer into Puzzle Emo, the drop into leader. Use Preventers when sent to Grave effect to summon back the banished Rescue Ace monster. Use Puzzle Emo's effect to change it to a level 4. Then we can overlay into a rank 4. You can go Spriggan's Merrymaker into Gigantic Champion Sargus, who can use his effect to search Therion King Regulus. Activate Regulus' effect, special summoning himself, equipping Turbulence from Grave. Also note, the materials you used on board for the search can also be used as link materials to extend the combo even further. Perhaps the most different option on this successful section is the Superheavy Samurai build of Rescue Ace. This list was by Andrew Alice, who made top 4 at a Lubbock Regional. This build provides an extra set of starters from Superheavy Samurai Motorbike and Superheavy Samurai Prodigy Wakaushi. This line can turn into either a Baronne de Fleur and a Pendulum Summon, or a quick rank 4 into Battling Boxer Dempsey for a Rescue Airlifter search. I will briefly explain the combo here for completionist's sake. Discard Super Heavy Samurai Motorbike to search Super Heavy Samurai Prodigy Wakaushi. Activate Wakaushi in Pendulum Scale. Use Wakaushi's effect to activate Super Heavy Samurai Monk Big Benki from deck and special summon Wakaushi. Then activate Big Benki's effect to add Super Heavy Samurai Solga Booster from deck to hand. Activate Solga Booster's effect to equip the Wakaushi. Then use its second effect to special summon it. Here you can either go into a rank 4 search for Airlifter, or you can make Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon to revive Motorbike and make Baronne de Fleur. Keep in mind that if you synchro with it, Wakaushi puts itself back into zone, so we can Pendulum Summon if need be. And you can pop it with Baronne de Fleur if you need your zone back. So yeah, you have options. It is important to remember that this combo does have the restriction of having no spell or trap cards in the graveyard. So, just do it first. Man, I once had a guy argue with me about how you shouldn't tech Super Heavy Samurai in the decks that run spells and traps because it's not synergistic. Just an incorrect take. Playing around restrictions intelligently almost lets you ignore them completely, especially since you're only using it once. It's why decks like Dogmatica Synchro Eldritch, Branded Piles, and Super Heavy Samurai teching decks all have seen success at various points in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Sorry for the tangent, I just had a stroke writing the script and remembering that conversation. My main goal for this video is to show you all the different ways to build Rescue Ace as a deck. There's not one correct answer, but there are some guides you should follow. Pick and choose which engines and combos you want to use, or which ones work best for your local area. For example, don't try the Iblee lock if your opponent is already on a Cyberse deck. It's not going to work out well. For more competitive play, make sure to fill up on those staples. Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, and the hand traps really are necessary to play the game. Also important is consistency. Pot of Prosperity is almost statistically required for long events, to reduce bricking. Piri-Ree's map and Small World are okay, but each come with their own problems. This next section is dedicated to more casual techs and gimmicks. Topologic Trisbania is a fun combo that lets us banish the board spells and traps thanks to Preventer. If we set up for an IP Masquerena and Preventer on board, we can quickly tag out Trisbania, then use Preventer's effect to summon a card back and blow up the field with Trisbania's skill. The problem is, this hits our back row too, so it ends up being a bit too situational for most builds. Still, it is only one space in most builds, letting you run it if you think the option is interesting or you can find space. My personal favorite tech to run is Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos, which is limited at 1. It does 3 things. First, it lets us put a second fire monster in graveyard, so we can summon Rescue Ace Turbulence with bad hands. Second, it outs a card on the field. This is more relevant than it should be. Third, Blaster just keeps coming back from our graveyard for extra board pressure and OTKs. It enables rank 7 plays, as well as funny synchro plays. With an opponent's Ash Blossom plus Rescue, it's an easy Baronne to Fleur. And I mean, look, you haven't lived until you overlaid Rescue Ace Fire Engine and Blaster into number 11 Big Eye. This deck is definitely questionable with its utility and consistency, but it is certainly peak fun. Another fun tech is throwing in a small Infernoble Knight engine. The tech can be as small as 3 Reynolds to enable synchro plays. Reynald plus our standard Rescue Ace Turbulence combo throws out a Baronne de Fleur on top of our usual plays. We also have room in the extra deck for all manner of other synchro options. A larger, more dedicated build can easily throw out a King Emperor Charles, plus the standard Rescue Ace board. It just starts to run into consistency issues, as well as a surprisingly weird time competing for back row space. It's definitely worth your time if you like Infernoble Knights, but you do have to be a skilled enough player to manage the deck. Now the big shift in Rescue Ace builds comes with the release of the Diabellstar archetype in Age of Overlord. To give this video I've worked quite hard on some longevity, I'll explain this engine in detail. The engine works like this. The Sinful Spoils Hunter Fiend searches for Diabellstar the Dark Witch from deck. Dark Witch specials herself with a discard, then sets the original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye from the deck. The original Sinful Spoils then summons a level 1 fire monster from the hand or deck, then Sinful Spoils Hunter Fiend puts back the banished original Sinful Spoils back into the deck to draw 1. A complete recursion of resources that nets us a draw, a discard, Rescue Ace Hydrant. This lets builds not only have an additional crazy starter, but it gives the deck access to synchro plays like never before. Herald of the Arc Light, Baronne de Fleur, and Borlode Savage Dragon are easily accessible. OCG lists have cut down on the Rescue Ace engine to complement this less reactive and more aggressive playstyle. It's hard to say how this engine will end up in the TCG, but it's easily viewable that it'll be extremely powerful from the get-go, closing the gap between Rescue Ace and the other meta decks this format. If you've liked this guide, don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Guides like this take an absurd amount of work to make, and it would be nice for this one not to rot under YouTube's algorithm. If you need more resources, please check out the links in the description. They're there for you. I want as much collaboration as possible to make this deck as good as possible. The more players, the better. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.